Welcome to Allscripts Enterprise EHR Clinical Desktop Demonstration, brought to you by Galen Healthcare Solutions. The Clinical Desktop. The Clinical Desktop is a highly configurable workspace in which you will now view your patient's new electronic health record. Each user has complete control over the components and the way in which they are displayed. To confirm that you have the correct patient selected, you will confirm their name in the patient banner. Remember, the patient banner displays brief demographic information regarding the patient you have selected. You will notice in the patient banner on this patient that the FYI icon is colored yellow. This is an indicator to the end user that the patient has some additional information regarding the patient that the end user needs to view. If I want to view this information as well as additional demographic information regarding this patient, I will simply click on the blue eye in the patient banner. This will open up the patient profile dialog box. Now remember, the demographic information comes from the site's practice management system and cannot be modified within this screen. However, I will highlight the three areas of this screen that the end user can modify. The first of those fields is the FYI field. The FYI field is not a permanent part of the patient's record, and therefore the site will have to regulate the information entered in this information. This field is most commonly used to enter a patient's name that they prefer to be called by. It can also be used to enter HIPAA information or the parent's name of a pediatric child. The Chart Alerts field is the second field that can be modified by the end user within TouchWorks. This field will display alerts regarding the patient on the clinical desktop. As you can see, the chart alert that the patient is blind was entered here and is displayed on the clinical desktop. These fields can be configured by the site to be specific alerts that they wish to have selected. The end user can also create an ad hoc alert as well. Additional information displayed in the profile is the complete demographics, employer, contact, and insurance information. Pharmacy benefit management, retail pharmacy, and mail order pharmacies can be added, making this our third area that can be modified by the end user. To add a pharmacy, I can click on the heading and search for the pharmacy by any of these areas. Therefore, if all I have is the patient's pharmacy's phone number, I can enter that information to find the pharmacy I wish to add. Once I click OK, I am taken back to the patient profile screen. I can now close the screen to return to the clinical desktop. Let's review some of the other features about the clinical desktop in more detail. The clinical desktop view displays the components configured within that view. These can be created by the build team and/or end user. Configurations will determine the components that the end user is able to see, as well as the format in which they are laid out on the screen. Many times sites will create different clinical desktop views for each role in the clinic, such as front desk, clinical staff, medical records, and provider. The Clinical Toolbar contains the icons that allow the end user to view the encounter form summary, enter vitals, add problems, prescriptions, and orders, start a note, commit the changes that I as an end user have made on the patient's record. I can also view and edit the patient's location and status on the Clinical Toolbar. The Dictation Toolbar contains the icons necessary for the provider to create a dictation on the patient. These dictations are created in a WAV file format and can be transcribed by a third party and recaptured within TouchWorks. Each of these areas below are called components. Components can be configured to display the patient's health record in an easily accessible manner. For example, as a clinical staff member, I may want to see my patient's vitals, allergies, and medications displayed on my primary page and still have access to the other areas of the patient's record. As a provider, I may want to have access to a different view. This may be determined by each specialty within your clinic as well. Within each component, you will find additional data and views. For example, in the problem box, I can change my view from active problems to past medical history, past surgical history, family history, social history, or display all problems. I can also organize these in a second category, alphabetically, managed by, primary problem, or specialty priority. The Chart Viewer component allows you to quickly access clinical data on your patients. This will include all scanned documents, documents created within TouchWorks, as well as results that have come through an interface from the lab. As with each component, you can organize the data by selecting the view within the component. As you can see, I can have the option of selecting a view of all by owner, which as a provider I may want to view the records by the managing provider. Most commonly selected, though, is the all by section by subsection. I can double-click on any item to view the details. When I am done, I simply click the X. The Encounter component displays the details of previous encounters for this patient. Patient work lists can be configured to display outstanding orders for the patient selected. Abnormal Results is an example of a view that can be created specific to your site to display the abnormal results for the patient. The Meds Orders component displays current meds and orders, current medications, current orders, past meds and orders, or all medications and orders, and again can be organized even further by a second category. Health Management is a component that can assist the provider in managing the patient's health. As you can see, this view displays the records by problem. I can view orders, follow-up appointments, blood tests, and medications with their most recent date, to-do date, and those that are incomplete. The red exclamation is an indicator that the item listed is past due. This completes our demonstration of the clinical desktop. Galen Healthcare Solutions hopes you enjoyed the Allscripts Enterprise EHR Clinical Desktop demonstration. For more information, contact info@galenhealthcare.com.